It's a pleasure to catch up with Professor Kovin Naidoo. Professor Kovin Naidoo is the Deputy CEO of the Brien Holden Vision Institute. Welcome to India Vision Institute, Kovin.
Thank you, Vinod. It's always a pleasure to be here.
You graduated as an optometrist from the University of Durban about 2 decades back. What was your very first job as an optometrist?
At the time I graduated, I knew I wanted to do public health work. I'd been a political activist against apartheid, and my interest was working in communities, etc. But at that time, optometry was exclusively a private practice profession. There was no public health options within the country. So I spent the first year in private practice. I set up a practice, and it was very successful because I knew lots of people, was very busy, etc. And I spent the first year in private practice and learned a lot about the business of optometry, etc. But at the same time, given the nature of the country, there was limited things you could do within that context.
And then what has your journey been from that very first job to the important role you currently have, being the Deputy CEO at the Brien Holden Vision Institute, one of the premier facilities in the whole world, and you worked in several different countries managing high-level projects catering to the needs of millions and millions of people around the globe. So what's the journey been, and what were the key drivers that took you in that journey?
Well, while I was in practice, actually about the time I went into practice, I also applied for a Fulbright Scholarship to go to the US to study public health. And I was lucky that I was awarded that scholarship, and I went and studied public health at Temple University in the evening, and a doctorate in optometry during the day at Pennsylvania College of Optometry. And I got a very good clinical training, and I also got a good public health training out of that. At that point I had brought in a partner who took over the practice, etc. And after studying public health, I wanted to come back and be part of academia and conduct the public health work, because I've really developed a lot of clinical skills and teaching skills, etc., while in Philadelphia. So I joined the university, all excited to make a big difference, etc. And I tried to do that. The challenge with most universities right now, and I mean even then and now, is that it's hard to get the management to think creatively. So it was quite a challenge when I came back. But I was still able to do some innovative stuff and bring in a lot of community-based training, elevate the standard of clinical training based on my experience. I was now at a therapeutic license from the US, who brought in more ocular disease, etc. And that helped me to do something in a different way.
Now, many young people who are looking at a career after they graduate from optometry would be very keen to hear from you on how they should approach what they want to do over the next maybe 3 or 4 decades. What would your advice be for them?
I think there's a couple of principles. Firstly, know what you want and know what you are best at. Because I had a very successful private practice. I made a hell of a lot of money in the 1 year, but I knew I was not happy doing it. A lot of people stay in those roles because for the wrong reasons. And I knew if I'm going to do this for the rest of my life, the money is not going to sustain me. So know what you want and make the difference. The second thing is that plan the pathway of your life. It doesn't always work, but plan. Say, this is what I want to do, and go after the skills to make that happen. Right? I find that often I meet young people who are just doing any course that's available. And I ask them, why are you doing this course? They don't know. I had a student who came to me and said, I want to do a master's in public health, can you help me? And I said to him, why? He's a South African. And he said, well, I want to do a master in public health because I want to get involved in academia. I said, every time I talk to you, all you can talk about is entrepreneurship. Go and do an MBA. Don't think that you have to do a public health because you know me and I'm advising you. And I helped him to get a place into the MBA. He's now the CEO of a company in South Africa, right? And, he became the COO of the Optometric Association. And If he had done public health, he'd have been stuck in something he didn't want. So really go after the correct skills that you want. And the other issue, things have changed a lot. Optometrists were very arrogant in their interpretation of jobs. We would see the reps that came around, or people working for the companies as managing Bausch & Lomb or Johnson & Johnson's contact lens division. We'd see them as just reps, right? A lot of them, optometrists who joined those positions, have now become major players in the corporate world. Because they went in at that level, maybe as a professional assistant, giving advice to practitioners, etc. They got MBAs, they're now running programs, they're running those companies in countries. So that has opened up a whole new aspect. And then in public health, the NGO sector has grown tremendously. I mean, Brien Holden Vision Institute, for example, we employ a hell of a lot of optometrists. When we started the public health work, we was just a few of us, we couldn't get staff. Nowadays, if we advertise a post, there are many people applying. So there's a whole NGO sector. Then the government sector as well. Most optometrists think about the government sector as something, I need to get a job in the government. Of course you can, but go and get the skills. For example, either Masters in Public Health, a Masters in Health Services Management. Because now, when you do that, you can move on, like a lot of the medical doctors do, to be managers within the public health system, etc. So be very clear where you want to go, where's your career path. Find out from others who've walked that path before, and then get the skills along the way to get there.
Now, you've been a very regular visitor to India, and you've seen the whole profession here grow. What do you think of optometry as a profession, and for a young person who's looking at a career in optometry within India? What do you think of their future within this country?
Look, the first time I came here, it was a very challenging situation. There were different cadres, nobody was talking to each other, there wasn't talk about even having an organization like OCI that looks at registration, none of that was happening. Optometry in India has come a long way in the 10 odd years that I've been coming here. And I think the opportunities are going to open up more, because increasingly optometrists will get recognized more and more in the public sector. Companies are looking to expand. Contact lenses are underutilized in this country, so it's a growing market. There's going to be an explosion in that area as the market evolves. So there's going to be a whole range of opportunities there. So there's all these different types of careers I spoke about are starting to open up in India now for optometrists. But it's up to optometrists to get the skills and see themselves in a broad sense. And some will go into practice and open a small practice, some will end up in franchises, some will manage franchises, some will run businesses. Based on your skills, choose the place you want to be.
And my final question is, if there's one job that you think is the ideal job for you, what would that be?
I always wanted to run a university, okay? And I had a very difficult choice last year, because the vice chancellorship and the rectorship of our university became available, and people were asking me to apply, and recently people asked me to apply to run another university, etc. Because I've always believed in the power of young people. And I think in society, so often we see people treating young people like they're a problem rather than the solution. And I was one of those young people that led the protests and did all of that. And I know what we were capable of. We took on a government, right? And I think in society now, where there isn't those kind of challenges, that energy that we had is still there, and even probably more now, because of social media, it's more easy to organize people, can be utilized to really change society, address issues like poverty, address issues like access to education, etc. So that would be the outcome. But the reality is that even though I always felt that way, the Brien Holden Vision Institute job has become so impactful that when I reached that crossroads to make that decision, I chose to be here, to continue here, because we are reaching so many people on a daily basis that I feel now I'm reaching more than just young people. So I think I'm in the dream job.
Well, I think it's great having you here. Thank you so much for the advice, the wisdom that you've shared, and I'm sure many people will benefit from what you have to share. Thank you so much.
Thank you.